Good afternoon, everyone. Should we get started? How are you? I'm Rafael Nader. I'm the chapter chair for Phoenix for 2022. So it's our first live meeting. Now you make me nervous. But so I guess as we start, just want to call the meeting to order. So just convene the meeting. We can please stand and pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jordan, if you'd like to say the prayer, please have everyone pray your
Yeah, if you remain standing, please, if you don't mind. Please pray according to your own beliefs. Lord, you have called upon us to be guardians of a nation founded on your principles. Whatever our tasks as security force men and women, we do them to serve you and our nation. We are proud to accept the responsibility of this high calling. We dedicate ourselves to our vocation and ask for guidance and courage in aiding our people to live with dignity, in safety, and in peace. We know that true security comes from your presence. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so our first meeting today is it's a little bit different. We're going to be talking about body-worn security devices for all different aspects of security. So I'd like to thank ASIS for sponsoring the event. Quick introduction of the board, and each of us will introduce ourselves if you guys are good with it. I'm the chapter chair. For those that don't know me, I'm about a year into Phoenix. I come from the Miami market where I was chapter chair for 2 years, 2 long years. One thing I am excited about though is this chapter seems to have a lot of energy, a lot of people that want to get involved. It's a bigger chapter, and so I'm really looking forward to working with everyone. Just actually working off of what Lisa started last year, so thank you for attending.
My name is Jay Leonard. I'm with Iron Man Data Centers, the chapter secretary. I've got my CPP for ASIS.
Stephanie Swift, I'm the vice chair. Been with ASIS about 3 years, and yeah, thanks to Rafael for stepping up to be the chair.
Danielle Smith, I'm the chapter treasurer. I'm with ASIS Security Services, and I've been with the chapter about 8 years now.
So they're the best. As far as other board positions, as you can see, I mean, we did talk about how everyone's getting involved and how there's different things to get involved with, right? This is a listing of just a few of the positions that we have here at this chapter. So if anyone wants to get involved with anything, feel free to either reach out to one of us, or if you know, for example, Katie Bond, who's heading the young professionals, if it's something that you want to get involved with some chair in particular, just reach out. And we still have some board spots, so if anyone wants to get involved, feel free. I guess at this point it'd be great if everyone got to know each other. So if I don't know if Marianne, you want to get started, just a quick introduction. How long you've been with ASIS?
I just joined. I'm Marianne Reeder. I'm with CBIDS on the manufacturer's rep. I've been with ASIS probably.
I thought you were going to say 30 minutes.
Yeah, probably 30 minutes. My first meeting, so thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Jordan, do you want
Jordan Potato, CPP. I am with Cigna. This July marks my 25th year at ASIS. I'm the regional vice president.
Don Hesselbrock, CPP, past chairman of this chapter in 2000, now retired.
Hi, Terry Donnelly, CPP, for another 2 months or so at Wells Fargo. And I'm the assistant regional vice president of the chapter.
My name is Michael Hines. I'm with Desert Financial's Corporate Security Division. I've been with ASIS for about a little over a year now, and I'm going to be working towards my APP this year.
I believe in ASIS with Security 101, Vice President of Operations, been here a year.
Robert Birdsall, CPP, with ASIS, 20-some years, I guess. Can't count that, Mike, I got 2 hands.
Hey guys, I'm Katie Bondi, now with Transit Security Services. I've been with ASIS for 11 years, but officially part of this chapter for pushing 2. I am also the Young Professionals Chair with PSP and pursuing my CPP right now.
Anna Peoples, Milestone. This is my 2nd meeting. This is Ted Martinez. He's also with Milestone.
I am Bill Humbert, manager of the Bureau Safety Team. Been with ASIS for about 5 months.
Allison with Turo Investigations. I've been with ASIS for now 2 careers, and I'm studying for my APP.
I'm Rich Parker, I'm a professor of security and intelligence at Embry-Riddle University. I'm a CPP, and I would note that Allie was with me 4 years before she went to
Good afternoon, I'm Glenn Tracy from Boone Edom. Back in the early 2000s, I was actually a member of the ASIS chapter in Miami when I used to live in the Southeast. So. Sorry. And, I miss the old Aero Squadron. That place was great. This is my first time at the Phoenix chapter, so I'm delighted to be here.
My name is George Rimble. Currently in between opportunities at the moment. Just got approved to take my CPP exam, so I'm looking forward to that at the moment. New to ASIS, and I'm new to the Phoenix chapter, so just glad to be here.
Gary Lightfoot, Desert Financial Corporate Security. I've been about 15 years with the chapter, I think.
Vinny Schneider, PTA Firearms. I also work for T-Mobile full-time, so busy. On and off with ASIS for about 10 years, and learning for my CPP.
Lacey Spiegel, Lookout Security, and this is my first meeting.
Caleb Spiegel, Lookout Security. I've been involved with ASIS since about 2017 in a chapter in Michigan. Just the last year I've kind of gotten involved here. Got my CPP.
I'm Dennis Shep. I'm not from here. I'm in Vader from Canada. I've been with ASIS. I've tried to count on my toes and fingers, but I'll just say since 1982. And currently still involved. I'm actually working at headquarters, ASIS headquarters, and I'm on the faculty for the CPP review. Matter of fact, I kind of helped out these chaps the other night and gave them domain 1 presentation. Thanks for letting me join you today. Thanks for coming.
Brent Naz, Landlord Services, and that's my first meeting. First month on the job.
And I am Katie White with Landlord Services, and this is my first meeting in a while. I've been here before, but just back in security.
I'm Lisa Miller. I'm QXL Security, former chapter chair. I've been a member since 2016 of ASIS. I just wanted to do a quick announcement. So I'm currently the member engagement chair. We're going to be hosting our first event of the year at C2 Tactical on March 12th. So any new members or people who would like to get more involved, feel free to get in touch with me. We can chat after this meeting, and then I'll liaise with the board to see, if there's something that you would like to get more involved with on some of the spots that are open on our board or committees.
Which C2?
Chandler.
Tempe.
Diana Zellers, president of Security Services. Been in business for 23 years.
ASIS, and then didn't come for a few years and got back engaged.
Steve Entenman, I'm with Code 4 Specialists. It's a consulting and training company. I'm retired from the Department of Homeland Safety. I was the captain and the regulator at APS for a number of years before I retired. And I'm currently the vice chair with the APSPA, which stands for Private Security Professionals Association. And I did their lobbying work as well. So, I'm new name. This is my first meeting.
Welcome.
I'm Sonia Ingergio, and I'm with ECD Systems for Systems Integrated here in the Valley. I've been in security for about 17 years. This is my first meeting. I was drawn to it because of the women in security entity, which I think is awesome. And I got to find out what the
Paul Brother from Access Communications, CPP. I'm the vice chair of the Boston chapter. Joe Thistle with Access. I will be the one presenting to you today. So you will be hearing more from me in about 15, 20 minutes.
Again, sorry.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Scribner with Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage. This is my first meeting and first ASIS experience, so excited to be here.
My name is Sarah Cherney, and I am with Consol. This is my first meeting, and thanks for having me.
AJ Gully, I'm with MidFirst Bank Corporate Security. This is my second year with ASIS.
Nick Danford, Access Communications, been a member for 3 years, just under a year out here.
Jason Maddoxon with the Republic Services Security Director. In ASIS since about 2015, and probably 2 years in this chapter.
Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. And we just have a chapter news here.
So I'm just going to give a quick report for last year before I officially hand over to Danielle. This is a recap that was done by our accountant. The most important thing I think to note is that we are positive $13,000, up from last year a little bit. Of the outstanding checks and we still under the overall we raised about $10,000 for the chapter last year. So everyone that contributed at events or sponsored things or raised money or sponsored the chapter or paid your dues, just thank you so much. That really put us in a good spot going into this year. Speaking about the dues, we definitely want to keep that going. We missed a couple of $1,000 on people not paying. So if everyone would pay just their $40 for the chapter dues, you get a discount on all the meetings and CPP class that you want. Again, would really help us out.
This, by the way, is a credit to last year's executive board led by Lisa, Stephanie, Dan, and Scott. They, after the COVID year, they really stepped everything up and really positive against us. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, now that we have a little money in the bank, we have some money for special projects, and so our first initiative is redoing the website. I'm sure you've all noticed it's a little bit outdated and not so easy to navigate from your phone. So we're working with the company Star Chapter to just give it a whole new makeover. It'll be easier to use mobile devices and just overall looking better. So that should be rolling out, I would say, by the end of April.
I know as we move forward, I know we've been sending out a lot of emails. So I guess at this point with the website launch, hopefully we're able to push more people to the website, and then there's less of a necessity for more emails, right? Again, Access has been the sponsor. Just want to give them a couple minutes just to tell everyone what they do. I'm not sure who from Access will be doing it, but thank you for the sponsorship for today's meeting. I guess Paul's drawing the short straw.
I just got voted. So Access Communications is a technology company. We're well known for IP video and audio. We also have other solutions like onboard analytics that are on Camera Edge. We've been in business. We actually invented the very first IP camera. It was invented by Access Communications about 25 years ago. It's a real pleasure to be here. I am from Boston. It's a lot longer here than I did. Actually, not today. Yeah, not today. Yeah. So we're having typical New England weather. One day it's 60, and the next day we're getting 8 inches of snow. So I don't know what's going on. So that's Access Communications. We've been around for a long time. If you have any questions, Nick is here from Access.
Our annual sponsors can't thank you enough as well. SRP, Ally, Enterprise, Desert Financial, we appreciate it. So we talked about we have a lot coming up. We have a lot going on, which is great. That means it's been busy. There's a lot of events coming up. So we just want to give everyone, for the next 3 meetings that are coming up, the opportunity to talk about it a little bit. I think Katie, this is you.
Yes, perfect. Guys, next Friday, we are co-hosting a career fair, so a lot of it will be security-centric, but it will be a large career fair where you're hosting it at Mesa Community College, their Southern and Dawson campus. The map is available there. I'm still taking recruiters. I have several of you that signed up. Thank you so much. We're hoping that we can bring some people in, whether it's for guards or whatever position is open. People are finally creeping back to work because the government can't pay them anymore. So thank you, Jesus. So we will host that career fair. There's information available. We're peddling this out on LinkedIn. It's available on the website. If you're a recruiter, I know I'm probably driving you crazy asking you to promote, but we want to make sure as many eyes see this as possible. It's also being promoted through Mesa Community College through their CTE Strong program. I just did that, yeah. So they will be promoting it as well. So please, we encourage you to promote this within your companies and come out. If you would like to attend, we ask that you register. It is a completely free event, but we are going to be offering lunch to those that are interested. So we just need to get a good head count and also generate if this is, or decide if this is something worth pursuing again next year. If we need to change tactics or strategies as to how we bring people in. So I know everybody's hurting for labor and employment right now, and we want to help bridge that gap, right? The last thing I'd like to add is that we actually put together a really great agenda for it. So it's not just the career fair that people will be attending. There's a resume writing workshop that the RVP out of Texas, Melissa Mack, will be putting on through Teams. So if you're not able to attend in person, but you have somebody, it might be your kid or somebody that you know that would be really beneficial, they can still register for the resume writing workshop and log in through Teams. Same thing for the etiquette. We have a interview etiquette that follows that resume writing workshop. So what to do when you're coming into your first ever corporate security interview, right? Maybe you're transitioning and you're used to interviewing in a military level. Your conversations are a little bit different when you're having to talk to a civilian, right? And the same thing for recent graduates. How do you handle interviewing and really sell yourself without being so free? So we'll focus on that. Then we will have the recruiting fair and meetings and demonstrations of all the cool technologies. People love that. And then we're going to share career transition stories. We will share experience from Michael Monte and Pam Michaud in healthcare, how they fell into their careers, how they got into their careers, and tips and tricks or advice they have for people entering into corporate security at that vertical. We are going to have a military talk. We'll have a talk from Scott Carter, who will be sharing with us how he transitioned out of the military and into a career in corporate security. Again, sharing tips, tricks, and advice. I think that's been something that's been very vital over the last year. Everybody that we've met has been somebody that's either had experience or is coming out of the military and looking for how they can get involved and where they can really contribute their skill set. And then we will talk about law enforcement as well, those interested in pursuing a career in law enforcement, as well as those that are transitioning out of a law enforcement career and looking to get into corporate security or private security. We will also touch on the mentor program, sharing an actual experience story. Allie and I will share as mentor and mentee and success that we found in doing that, encouraging people to get involved with mentor, and certifications. What certifications are, to your point, what is the CPP, what is the PSP, what is the APP, what's the right one for you, and then will we be offering study groups or sessions coming up so you can get involved in the chapter level rather than having to do ASIS international study lab groups. So that's what we have in the agenda. So it's more than just a fair to go find a job. There's something for everybody in regards to professional development. So please promote this on all platforms and sign up and join us. That was a lot. I'm sorry, I'm done.
I guess it'd be good to transition over to Red Park. I know he wants to talk about internships or whatever.
You want to do that afterwards?
Want to do later?
Or I can do it right now because it's a perfect segue.
That's what I'm thinking. It's a nice little transition. We don't have a slide. We don't have a slide for you.
Yeah, let me slide here.
Oh, you have a full
Yeah.
presentation.
Well, I'll be there. Oh, this one? I won't go through the whole thing.
It's over there.
Oh. I'm sorry.
Let me add to that. Hey, Raphael, while you guys are speaking over real quick, hey, just a side note, we actually have several ASIS members from across the globe joining us for the career fair. They'll be joining me in teams, but I've got 2 gentlemen out of Melbourne, Australia, that will be attending the resume writing workshop. And this gives us really good exposure from a team standpoint. So we're seeing not just as at a chapter level with people, but we're always seeing internationally as well. And that really helps us as a chapter go towards Chapter of the Year award and be recognized through ASIS International for our efforts. So I just want to drive that home as far as exposure goes for the chapter. I'm done plugging. I'm done.
Hey, Reg, if you want to just get started, we'll. That's again.
Okay, I got shortchanged at the Southwest Security Conference, and I didn't get a chance to show this, so I'm going to bear with me for just a bit. This is a perfect segue, and I'm also glad that I've got Allie, my former student. We train our students. We are the #1, we're the only college of business security and intelligence in the United States. The difficulty is coming out with these great students and then finding them jobs in local places. But we have a dichotomy. I have a student, bachelor's degree, graduated last year. I can't tell you the company. He's a year younger than Allie out of school, and his salary is $192,000 a year. Big companies are looking at our graduates with certain skills that are looking at very, very prestigious stuff. These people have language skills and other things, but we also have a lot of students that are looking to get started. The problem is we don't have internships. It's frustrating to be a member of ASIS, and since last fall, I spent a lot of time with ASIS Chairman Peter O'Neill talking about trying to get the APP down so that we could have the students sit for it. And the certification board, no offense, the certification board says, no, we're not going to do that. What they are doing, though, is allowing credit for work served as internships and whether paid or not. So that helps someone who's getting through school that can then sit for the APP. So just very quickly, I'm not going to go through all these, but recruiting is a big problem for security. And the problem is, someone comes out, well, Mr. Cody, you want to come join us? What's your experience? Well, I don't have any. I just got out of school. Well, if you had been in the military, if your MOS was bottle washing, we could take you. This is what students are running into. They think that anybody who's done any military service is qualified to come into a job, when in fact, there's a lot of military people that are not as well trained as professionally trained students with a bachelor's degree. And that's the dichotomy. Go to the next one. We'll put this up and then you can all read it. So government agencies, they want degrees and 5 years of experience, right? I can't get into the FBI or something until I get 5 years experience. Well, what am I going to do for 5 years? What happens, go to the next one. This is the big problem. You get college graduation, everybody in security says, well, come to me when you got 3 to 5 years. Those people aren't coming back to the security business. They're gone. They're gone to Amazon or someplace else. And this is the argument I had with Peter O'Neill about what do you do in this gap? So all of you, I'm going to look to for member companies. We're the biggest chapter. We should be having some places where we can get some internships. But employers are not willing to invest in new graduates. No internships and no jobs without experience. These great kids go someplace else. I've got an outstanding student that's a security person. She's doing a really good job at Freeport McMoran. She's working in the metals business and mining business, and she turned her back on security. And it's a loss to our profession. If you don't solve the problem, the students will, and that's just it. The students, they graduate, I got to get a job, I got to pay back student loans. I get a job, and what happens? I get a job, and now I start going toward my pension, or they give me a couple stock options, or it looks like I got a good career. They don't come back and look at security. What do our students do? Allie is a prime example. Critical thinking, project manager. She's a certified project manager. She's a certified, well, she's not certified risk manager yet, but she took risk classes. She's taken supply chain. We teach this wealth of information that is useful across every domain of business. So micro internships. Other colleges are doing this, and this is where we need your help. I will be the one that helps you develop the micro internship. It's a short-term project. If you've got something you can do, Terry Donnelly has got his business, and it might even be sorting papers or doing something in the security business that the student can go and talk with a security expert and learn something. Even if it's 2 weeks, it's something they can be paid or non-paid. Pay them gas money if you want, but we could do something. We've also had students that are full semester paid internships where they get 3 credit hours, but we also want these smaller ones. So we had people, I mean, we have formal relationships with Boeing, Lockheed, Tesla. We've had 2 students go through Tesla. Shasta Industries, Allie worked there, and we've had 3 of our students be hired. So what happens? For you, the employer, you get a first look at these students. You get to see who Allie is while she's working, or you get to see somebody else. You get to know a little bit about the person. If we do work, if it's intellectual property, if you do something, that remains yours. We'll sign off anything. So if you take our student, and have them working on something that's germane to your business, we'll sign all the NDAs and stuff so that student can never talk about it. But it may help you, and it gives them experience. What do we need? Our solution, we've got to get, let me say it differently. It's embarrassing when we talk about ASIS, and I take students to the Southwest Security Conference, and Stephanie and Lisa did a great job last year. They've come up and they've visited the university. But then university management comes back and says, okay, you got all this great stuff you're doing. How many internships have you had with ASIS? And except for a couple where people had an inside track to something, we don't have any. And that's the embarrassing part. We got to do something about it. There's something that some member companies can do, even for a small amount of time. Call me up. I'll work with you if you need a certain type of student with certain skills. Maybe you need spreadsheet work. There's something we can do that student, Jordan has been up there and talked several times. Our students are great, but we've got to do something, because I go back to the university every year and they say, well, what did you accomplish? Yeah, you're a CPP. Yeah, you're this. There's 5 of us that are CPPs that teach, and we all have the same question. What can we do to get student membership, that 3-year gap, while you're in school or just before you go on? So we make exceptional graduates. You know that. Next. Give back to the community. It's something that can help. We're the First Nation. You can look that up, and my contact and Alan Sapala are both here. So I don't mean to piss and moan too much. I hate to say it that way, but we have all this horsepower. We have all these organizations, and we've got the best university, or one of the best universities in the country. We got to do something to bridge this gap. So if someone's got something, I want to be able to go back. I want to set up for the summer. There are people now, we're a third of the way into the semester. If there's something someone can do, call over the summer. I'm teaching a class. Our classes are so popular. I'm teaching in Italy this year. I'm going to the Upper Institute. I'm teaching supply chain management, risk management, and project management. If anybody wants to go to Italy, you don't have to be a student. You can pay the fee. You can go and you can get your 3 credit hours, and I'll teach you all about risk. Okay, enough of my whining. Thank you all.
I'm joking. I know we talked about that. Thank you very much. Lisa, this is your C2 event.
Okay, guys, so I'm going to plug this again. This is our membership engagement event. It's our first one of the year, and it's being held on March 10th at C2 Tactical. It's the Tempe location, which is right by IKEA off the 10. After we get a C2 Tactical, we're going to meet for happy hour over at the main event. What you can expect to see when you're on C2 Tactical is a shooting event. We're also going to have a simulator. There's going to be a competition, among many other things. We're actually having some subject matter experts from the industry who are also members here, who are like the equivalent of a range master or more, also attend the event. So even just outside of their internal staff, we're going to be well equipped to answer any questions that you may have on gun safety or competition, anything that you may or may not want to get involved with. So it is already up on the website. If you go to asisphoenix.org, you can register on there. We are capping registration, so if you have an interest in attending, please register as soon as possible.
I'm not sure who's going to talk about music.
So we are getting ready for the Law Enforcement Appreciation Lunch. That's going to be March 25th at the Falls Event Center. So last year, obviously, it was virtual, and we're hoping to get a lot of participation to get people in the seats. Desert Financial is, again, the title sponsor for the third year. So they paid for the event, but we really need seats, people in the seats so that we can fill that place up and hopefully raise more money for the families, the fall families, which there are quite a few this year. We are also looking for donations for online auction prizes for that. But yeah, individual seats is $50. So, Gary, you want to add anything?
No, we're just honored to do this, and last year we had to do virtual, as we all know what was going on, and that went off good. But I'm an ex-police, as many of you are, and it's just not the same. You know, when you honor these guys, it's not the same doing a recording in your break room at your police department as it is going to an event, walking up on the stage, and cameras and all that. So I really hope that we can pull this back together and have a good attendance for the live event, but we're doing it hybrid too. You know, we're also having online for people who can't, cop buddies back at the station or whatever, can't attend. But I'm a little worried that the in-person part's not going to come off too good this year. So if you got attendance-wise, so if you guys have any contacts, we also don't have much in Valor Award nominations yet.
We have potentially only 3 this year, which is sad.
I think last time live, or last year, we gave out 8.
Yeah,
something like that.
So I don't know what's happening this year, but everybody's coming back from they don't have anybody to nominate. So.
Yeah, I don't get it. You know, from our side, the civilian side now, if there was ever a time we need to show support for law enforcement, this is stinking it, you know, so we're trying to do our part. I don't really get it why from the other side, from the law enforcement side, we seem to be pulling teeth to get them to participate. You know, this is an event where we all love you, you know, you don't have to worry about anything negative here, so.
Also know in the past though that they start to come in later though, so we're hoping that the case.
I'm hoping it's getting pretty stinking late.
It is.
Is that the same week as ISC? ISC West?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is.
Can I just add to that too? Sorry, I've been attending law enforcement appreciation luncheons here at this chapter for 20 years. It is by far my favorite event. Probably not just because I too am former law enforcement, but it really epitomizes who we are and what we do here in this organization, in this chapter. If you've been to these events in the past, like Gary said, I'm backing up on this, it is a moving event, it's a touching event. You know, we used to have Steve Irvin, Channel 15, he would actually be our master of ceremonies. We have the biggest of the best of police chiefs and county sheriffs here. We get some incredible speakers, the honor guard, the whole thing. So there's a lot of first-time members here. I say this, and somehow people here in there see that doesn't happen. There's a lot of first-time attendees here. This is a great event. Try and go to this event. If you go to nothing else in ASIS, try and go to Lille and bring somebody with you if you can, because you will be hooked into our organization in a heartbeat. I promise. So I hope to see you there.
Danielle, what kind of gift cards or, you know?
Gift cards are, we did, there was a lot of baskets. Desert Financial, actually, besides the account sponsor, they put up a lot of those things too last year, and it grew it probably the most money that we've ever raised for that side of it. But it could be anything. We had wine baskets, we had rooms for a round of golf, and there were gift cards. So anything, and you can email me or Derek.
We'll definitely do one, and then I'll reach out to some of my contacts from the chapter too, for like golf and stuff like that.
If I didn't beg enough, let me say one other thing. In 19, I guess, the last time we did it live before the pandemic, this was not planned. But sitting right on my right was the wife of one of the police officers we were honoring who died in the line of duty. And she was there because she chose to be. Through the lunch and all that, and we're talking at the table, she's crying like a baby. Well, she had said she wanted to go up front and say something. I'm sitting here the whole time thinking, I'm going to have to go up and catch this lady because she's going to pass out when she's up there at the microphone. Well, then she walks up there and did a great job talking about her husband and what he did and what the job meant to him and all that. I'm worried that somebody like that's going to be there and talking to a virtually empty room. We gotta get going here and find your friends, whoever, that can come and show support for our local heroes. Thank you.
Thank you. I know in South Florida in general, Lille was very important. It was a very important event because you're honoring those that have fallen, right? Not only them, but their families. So just to piggyback off of that, yeah, this is the event to go to.
Excuse me, can I add something?
Please.
To that topic. This is near and dear to my heart too. Jordan here is a newbie. He's only been going 20 years. I have 40 years attending the Lille. And it didn't used to be Lille, it was a dinner. The very first one that I joined in 1981, was a Camelback Inn. It was a dinner, very formal dinner. And the chiefs were not only all invited, and they all showed up from around the state, not just Maricopa County. They brought their wives. We invited them to bring their wives. The wives would come with evening gowns on. The keynote speaker for that very first event in Camelback Inn was Barry Goldwater. It was a huge, huge deal, and we had the entire ballroom in Camelback Inn packed and dinners. Over time, it wound down because dinners didn't become the deal it used to be, going out, dressing up in gowns and all that kind of stuff. So we switched it to a lunch, and then it came back up again. But it really is an important event. It used to be a huge deal. I just want to reinforce, I echo what everyone said here. We really need to bring it back somehow. And by the way, at the beginning, every member was expected to come and expected to sponsor a chief. So you not only, if it was like $60 for you to attend, you were expected to come up with $120 to pay for the chief. And people did it because we felt that was our obligation to the law enforcement community. And we had all the agents in charge, all the FBI alphabet soup were there. The last little point, I'm not saying this hasn't been done, I know it's been done, but the real trick of it is to get the chiefs there. If you get the chiefs there, then you will get members there. They'll want to see it, but we're not getting the chiefs anymore. And the only way I found when I was in charge of it is to get to invite personally. You can't just send out the notices, because the notices get out there, they get stuck in an inbox, it gets floated down. The chief says, I can't make that up, I'm floated down. We end up getting a sergeant. Nothing against sergeants, but we used to always get the chiefs themselves, or maybe an assistant chief, please. You got to invite, you got to follow up on the phone with every one of these departments and say, not if they're coming, we're saying, we're just confirming you're coming. And if they say, well, I can't make it, I said, well, would you please let us know who you're sending? In other words, assume the sale, that they're going to send somebody and follow with you. Maybe you shouldn't have to, but you do have to with the law enforcement. Otherwise, it just gets stuck in the file boxes, it gets passed on and drops between the desks. Anyway, but if you do all that, it really is a fabulous event. I encourage you to do everything you can to resurrect it. I'll be there.
Thank you. So there's a lot going on, but we're always still looking for new topics. Anything interesting that would have either for a chapter meeting, a monthly one, or for a committee, just let us know. We're working on tours with Wayne Black coming back in April to talk about international affairs and how it affects us here locally. And then as well as a de-escalation, what is it that? Yeah, he's speaking to de-escalation processes for really for anybody. That affects everybody in this room. But anything else, please reach out to us. So with that being said, I'm going to read off a little bit about Joe Thistle. He's going to be doing a presentation on body worn and how it's used in the security industry. He works for the global national accounts team with ASIS. He's been there for about 10 and a half years. 1.5 of those years was inside sales, 9 years with the national accounts group. He's based out of ASIS headquarters outside of Boston. He resides in southern New Hampshire. And he wanted everyone to know that he liked Bud Light, so if anyone wants to have Bud with an afterward, Access Communications.
Thank you, Raphael. Thank you, everyone, for having me. This is my first ASIS presentation, or ASIS presentation, so I'm truly honored to have it. I know Raphael and Felipe from their old South Florida days. I've been managing their account for, I think, 8 years now, so it's been some time, it's been a journey. So they had me come in today to speak about body-worn solutions. My counterpart, Paul, brought in the back. He brought this up earlier. A lot of people were using body-worn, but we're actually moving the term to wearables now, because I guess it's more of a sexier term. It doesn't seem as tactical as, body-worn, because there's other industries that, these body-worn or wearable solutions can go into outside of your typical, police agencies or security guards or correctional facilities. Just a brief history on where this wearable surveillance market is today, or where it started. Back in 2005, it started picking up in the UK. As you can imagine, that was probably more analog days, so everything was going through the old DVRs and VCRs there. Back in 2013 is when the ASIS, Security Industry Authority, adopted it. 2014 is when you started seeing it here more in the US. Still probably, hasn't crossed the chasm, hasn't become, super large. Today, we're starting to see it being, more common, especially with all the things happening, a lot of the local states or agencies there. The current market landscape, back in 2018, this was actually almost a $500 million market, which was actually surprised me when I looked up these stats. And where they're actually seeing this market to go here, 2 years from now is to be, almost triple. So it's going to be a $1.5 billion market. So this is definitely, expanded. ASIS, we're not supposed to plug too much product. We got into this in this market a couple of years ago, and it's one of our fastest growing product lines, along with a lot of our competitors as well. And you're starting to see more states start to pick up on this wearable market. So some of the benefits, with the wearable, surveillance or body-worn solutions, obviously there's some cost savings behind it. I'll go over what a traditional, architecture would look like. It could act as a deterrent. I was at the meeting earlier today, the healthcare group. So a lot of people are using this for training as well. And you'll see some cool, videos of where, people are actually using these wearables outside of your traditional, type of, police agency application. Transparency, instant review. I know Paul gave a story once, I forget which hospital they actually put it in, but they were getting all these complaints, all the police officers in the hospital were getting these complaints, and then finally once they said, hey, you're actually being recorded the whole time, we can go back and review that, magically all those complaints went away. So it's actually, something to deter people or actually, have backup film on, or backups on what actually happened. So the current market today, employee acceptance of technology, anything that comes out new, people don't really want to adapt to it. Even, in the market we work in today, people still buy analog equipment. It's crazy to me that, people still are buying DVRs and have it fully converted and use this crazy concept and being able to go on the World Wide Web and, log on to things. But it takes a long time for people to adapt to new technologies. A lot of times the reason behind that is because people don't want to go through the training. It's just another thing they have to add on to their expertise or what their knowledge base. Policy, as you can imagine, it's very, very tough. Dependent on the state, it can be regulated by the state, or it can go all the way down to the local level. So it can be the county level, or it can even just be that local municipality that dictates if a wearable solution is allowed. We'll see this very similar with audio products as well. Some states allow it, some don't, some cities allow it, so it does vary. So definitely check with, your local reps or, your local government agencies to make sure that it's allowed. Another thing too is the former, or, the older technology, the analog, was more on-prem type of storage. Now everything's moving to a cloud-based storage system, so you don't have to have everything right there physically on site. They're very limited options, but now with everyone expanding this market, there's a lot more options you can look at, either a closed system, so everything's tied in, or a proprietary-based system, or more of an open-based system, so you can pull it into your video management softwares, or tied into your evidence management systems. Like I said before, varying state regulations. I do have a map on which states have state mandates, but then there's others that could be different. I know in New Hampshire, it's all the way down to the city or town level. So it's the decision maker in that local city that's the one to do it. But then other states, it's already, the state has approved it. Then finally, who pays for this? I'm sure anyone in this funded, it doesn't matter what you're selling, you're going to run into this. Everyone has a budget, so where's all this funding coming from? Here are the states that fully have body-worn or wearables, I should say now, mandates. As you can see, it's very segmented. Some of them, it's not too much out here, out west, which is, kind of surprising, especially like a California, it kind of shocked me. But, New Mexico, New Jersey, Maryland, Illinois, Connecticut, Colorado, and South Carolina have state mandates that the law enforcement agencies must use body-worn or wearable solutions. I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes more common. But as you can imagine, with any law that goes into effect, there's going to be two sides of it, similar to mask policies and vaccinations and all this stuff. So this is kind of probably taking the back seat to a lot of that. The current market today, or what it was a couple of years ago, they were all closed systems. So it was all proprietary based. It wasn't flexible, so once you bought that system, you're stuck with it. You can't switch video management software companies or bring in other vendors, so it's all or nothing. They really locked in, which is very good for some companies if you're the one who actually sells it, you lock them in. But it doesn't allow the end customer to really, be flexible and try out different things, or sometimes get the latest and greatest technologies. If you're locked in on a proprietary-based system, then you're stuck with maybe outdated stuff that most of your end customers, or if you're an end customer, you do not want to have. A lot of them do go through a direct sales model, so the manufacturer will sell directly to the end user. Currently in the manufacturer of the IP camera space, that's not as common. Like we go through distribution to the integrator to the end user. This is when the manufacturer a lot of times will go directly to the end user, but that's also because they're probably a lot smaller company, and that's what they just focus on, is that wearable market. And like I said, locked in. And not a lot of people like being locked in on certain technologies. This is what a typical architecture would look like in the past with the wearable locked-in solution. You really didn't have much flexibility. You could only send that video to two places: your evidence management system or your records management system. There's no link to that video management software, so where your cameras are going into, or your access control system, or even your audio or paging system. So all of it was completely separate, so this would almost be like on its own separate network, and you couldn't access it any other way. This is the traditional wearable market. Once you think body-worn or wearables, you probably think some type of security officer, correctional officer, law enforcement agency. They are obviously the majority or the lion's share of that market share, but it's actually kind of surprising. And when I went through this presentation with Raphael the other day, there is other markets that are actually moving into this space that would kind of catch you off guard, but after you see it, it does make sense. So first, we'll go over the law enforcement market. So state mandates, so sometimes they have to do it. That we've been very fortunate because of some of these states. I'm not going to lie on that one. We do like it when a state makes you buy certain technologies. It's high cost and low flexibility. It can be limited or restricted with funding, because sometimes if you're in a locked-in system, it can be very expensive, and it could be a lease type of system where you're paying so much a month, over a 3-year span. 90%, and this is another fun stat too, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this, 90% of the police agencies or law enforcement agencies are actually 50 officers or less. So a lot of these towns and municipalities are not as large as people assume. So these are smaller systems, which makes it rather expensive in a closed or proprietary-based system to purchase this technology. And then the local representation support. Some of these companies out there today, They're very small companies. All they sell is these wearable solutions, so it's very, very niche. So you might not have, the support as a large manufacturer like us or other ones that are out there, or some of our competitors. Now, everything is moving to what we call an open wearable solution market. So this gives you a little more flexibility. It doesn't lock you in. So ASIS and a few other competitors out there today allow you to do multiple things with this wearable. Before, when it was a closed system, you could only send it to the records management and evidence management systems. But now you can tie it directly into your existing video management software. So you can tie it into all your video cameras, all your access control systems. If you have any type of paging or mass notification systems that go into them, it allows you to view those all from one dashboard or one single pane of glass, which a lot of end customers like, having the size of the customer. But if you can just go to one spot and actually locate all this information, it just makes everyone's life easier for training. Because usually that security professional, like, it's, if it's the CTO, whatever it may be, they're already trained on the software. Now they're just pulling all this stuff directly into the software they're already trained on. So it cuts down on training and expertise on different technologies. Benefits, you can work with, trusted resellers. With an open system like ours and a lot of our competitors, they work, with the top or the best of breed integrators in that local space. I know a few of them are in the room today, with one-on-one guys and a few guys allied in the back. Or allied over here, so there's a few in this area. And if you ever have questions too, we have Nick, our local guy, as well. The biggest benefit is the flexibility. So say you're the new security manager and you take over an existing VMS system and you absolutely hate it. With a closed system, you're not going to be able to change that out. With a system that's more open, which a lot of these manufacturers are going into, it allows you to, we're actually passing one around if you guys get interested. It allows you to actually get the latest and greatest technologies, or actually find something that fits your end user or your specific business the best way. Because not every VMS is going to be the perfect fit for every end customer out there. And this allows us to be a little more tactical or go into different verticals. If we're just a niche manufacturer of the closed system, we're only going after probably that security officer or law enforcement agency market. This allows us to actually be broad and go into other markets that you probably not you would think or would see a wearable solution. So the first one that came to mind was retail. As you imagine, this probably is not the most common wearable market that you see today, but because of COVID, it actually shined some light onto this. So I'm sure most people in this room have done some form of curbside pickup. So you go to your local Walmart or Target store, and you could have a 16-year-old kid walking out a $500 LG TV. Maybe the cameras are not watching the parking lot, or maybe that kid might get robbed, or he might just run off with it. Who knows? With all this curbside pickup that's happening, you could have blind spots and people are handling expensive merchandise that they weren't doing 2 years ago. By now, with putting a wearable solution on them, now it makes it feel a little safer. Maybe it can deter these thieves to go and rob these certain people. And then also it also can be used for training. If they start recording audio, it allows this the teller, whoever may be running out there, saying, hey, how did you greet the customer? Did you ask him, did you enjoy your experience? How much time, all the data, like what time did they pick up? You can even pull demographics. Is it male or female? So you can use this for all marketing data on the back. Not your, typically not the wearable market you're thinking of, but we're actually starting to see a lot of success in this space today with a lot of the big box major retailers. And I wouldn't be surprised moving forward if you start seeing a lot of your delivery drivers as well, with DoorDash becoming very, very large during the pandemic, Grubhub, and even your local Domino's guy, because they do carry cash on them. I know people use cash today. I was at Dunkin' Donuts yesterday. Apparently there's a cash shortage during this supply chain issue that we're running through, so you don't pay with a card. But you'll start seeing delivery drivers using some type of wearable solution just from a security and, like I said, training standpoint. Corrections, that's the no-brainer. That's pretty common. It's one of the largest markets outside of your law enforcement agencies. They're more likely to actually adopt it than a lot of the law enforcement agencies, because it's more state mandated, or the prisons are run by the state, so it's a lot easier, less hoops to jump through, instead of trying to go town by town and figuring out what the specific regulation is. Probably one of the largest end users that'll be out there today is the corrections area. I forget how many, I know we have a large one out in your neighbor, that large state to the northwest of here, but I think they purchased about $10 million worth of wearables for all the correction facilities there in California, we could say. So that's been, a big windfall. And it's not only for training, it backs things up, especially say if it's a male officer versus female or vice versa. There could be a lot of accusations, he said, she said. So this actually kind of negates that and makes things a lot easier. Or, could have that person removed or give that person more time. But this is obviously the most common outside of law enforcement that you're going to see. Transportation and logistics, I heard some supply chain stuff today. This has become very, very popular as well because, as you can imagine, a lot of these ports, these ships are carrying a lot of precious cargo, a lot of high-value goods. So this allows people to say, hey, is there something in there? Or I know there's a lot of police officers or former police officers in here. I don't know if anyone's doing border patrol or anything like that. You open up some of these things, you might not know what's in there. Could be drugs, could be human trafficking, could be a variety of things. And I don't know if you've ever been to any of the shipping ports. I know the one in LA is huge, and they were having some issues earlier this year. But you go in there, you're not going to be able to get cameras, looking at everything. And these lots are massive. But with a wearable solution, say you got 50 people out there working day to day in that certain area, now you have an extra line of security with people actually wearing that stuff, part of the wearable solution on them. So this is a good way for them to come across that. I will show a video later on where it actually comes into play with the trains that you see over here, and then just the general logistics. So I do have some cool videos at the end. Another big one, the airline industry. I was on a flight in December of last year. I was actually going down to Jacksonville, and we got delayed for 4 hours because some guy threw a fit because he didn't want to wear a mask. Apparently, he thought he was immune from the whole mask thing. But they had to bring on special people, and they had to try to talk her down because he was going a little crazy. But now these flight attendants will start wearing it because there are some crazy people on these planes today. And anything else, if someone's too drunk or whatever it is, then it's back to the he said, she said, or if they put hands or get aggressive with that certain person, it helps them have, some type of backup or liability to show, hey, this person didn't do it, or what this person's specifically doing. So you'll start seeing that become more popular. And they're starting to get smaller. I know the one we passed around was a little bulky, but there's other accessories. I can't do a full sales pitch here, but now they're getting, almost like the size of like a button. So that's another popular one. Healthcare. I listened to Mr. Paul Barada back there, who's our healthcare vertical specialist. This is becoming super, super popular. Paul, I don't know if you want to chime in here on just give your 5-minute pitch on healthcare here and where it's becoming popular. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but the experts of the group, so I might as well.
So we're finding it in many places. So anybody that's not in the healthcare world, workplace violence is extremely epidemic in healthcare. It's actually, if you look at workplace violence in places of occupation, healthcare is #1. So even beyond law enforcement, corrections, and things that you think there's a lot of violence in the workplace, healthcare is actually #1 statistically. Not in just the United States, but globally. So we're seeing the use of body-worn, of course, in the security, police, public safety sector. But we're also seeing today nurses and clinical staff wearing body-worn cameras. And Joe's going to show you a thing that we have, which is called Cube, that can be worn by clinical staff. And what we have found is by using this, we have some really good partners that are using it on the clinical staff. One of them is Martin Luther King Community Hospital, which is in Compton, California, which is a pretty famous area. It's a beautiful hospital in a very tough area. And they actually use two things. They use spot hospital technology, acoustic analytics, which is sound intelligence, so listen for aggressive behavior. And they also use body-worn cameras or wearables with their clinical staff that said, okay, somebody starts to get out of control. They say, by the way, I'm turning this camera on and we're going to record what's happening. The union actually approved it, and they saw a 60% reduction in violence in the emergency rooms in a month's time, and that's a huge amount of reduction of violence in the workplace. So very popular in healthcare. We have a lot of good customers. We also have some case studies up on our website as well.
Baseball. Another good one, it doesn't seem as common, you would think you would see or where you'd see a wearable solution, food processing. This is a very important, piece in our day-to-day life. We don't want things to be compromised. We want to make sure all the proper safety and, cleanliness standards are being followed. So we're starting to see a lot of these food processors starting to use our body-worn solutions or other people's body-worn solutions to make sure their quality is up to the standards either by the FDA or whatever their internal guidelines are. It doesn't seem like the most common one, but we're actually seeing a weird uptick in sales and there's specifically to access in this area. But yeah, so it just shows that body-worn solutions can be used at, almost anywhere outside of, your day-to-day, police agencies or law enforcement. And you'll see one of the videos I'll show in a little bit here. It's becoming a large training tool too, and I'll explain when we watch the video. And this is there's a few clips here of the sound will play.
I'm just going to pat you down quickly for weapons. Put your hands behind your back.
This just gives you an example.
There we go. Sorry about this, but
these are actually the ASIS employees who he works in the counselor office. His
He
buddy's
put
a,
his hands back.
yeah, his buddy's a police officer in New Hampshire, so he's able to do this. Just gives you an idea of what it looks like at nighttime. It's very tough to compensate for the different lighting with the flashlight. Here's an example where it's being used in the LA Delaware, the real train that goes from Manhattan out to Long Island. So this is where they're making safety checks if they're running homeless people or people going over the track. It's pretty clear image too, how small that little body one was. Home Depot. This was back to the curbside pickup I was talking about before. But it shows what they can actually see stock levels, what's going on in the store. I don't know if he told people he was recording this. This is the local Home Depot right around the corner from my house, but
That's the employee wearing it?
yeah, I don't think this is him on a motorcycle, but that looked very good. But it just shows you even with the fast speeds to be able to pick up. And this was the one that really caught me off guard. So imagine if you work for an HVAC company and you're the manager, you hire a couple new employees, and you want to see how they're doing the first time they go out and do their first job. Well, you know what? I can just go back and check the film. Instead of him shadowing that specific person every single day and making sure we're going back to the site after. Why not? I can just, after he gets back, puts it on the dock, I can look and see how that person's doing. And then on the back end, say the end customer or say someone came to my house and said, hey, you promised me you were going to do this and it wasn't done. You can actually go back to the film and be like, hey, this is what I did, X, Y, Z, check, check, check. Show the customer that you're good to go. And I know I kind of went a little quick there, but that's all I had. I did want to open up to questions. We do have a few ASIS people here, so if you have any questions on the wearable solutions or just anything, ASIS in general or the security industry in general, I think we'll be between Paul and I, we should be able to answer it.
What's the minimum on these? Minimum order?
One.
One.
So that's it. So such it's on an open platform. You can have one, or you can have thousands, just like the California Department of Corrections. So yeah, minimum order is one.
So basically, I've been watching this for a couple of years now. One of the problems I've seen with the wearables early on, especially law enforcement, was the storage factor of it, and it was becoming a big factor for them. And I know it's getting Delta, but
Yep. So what it's becoming common now. So when you get back to the police station, you actually take it off and you put it in like a dock. It's like a bay, 8-bay, and you put it in there, and then it'll offload to whatever servers you'll have it on the back end. But then it comes down to what the law is. How long you need to keep this stuff for. I think most of the time it's 30 days. I think in New Hampshire or in Massachusetts. But you're correct. Video is a large file. It's gonna take up a lot of space.
It's expensive. I mean, that's the AWS. I've talked to those guys and things. And I know one of the other wearable companies was actually saying they're going to not charge the agencies for storage, only when they upload it.
Correct. Yeah, so it varies, but yeah, a video is a large file. It's gonna be tough to store for that long, especially with that many. But then you could also just have it. Maybe some agencies don't record full time, so they actually have when the gun's unholstered, you can actually trigger the camera to turn on, or it's a push button. So maybe it's not a full 8-hour shift. It only happens when an activity is actually going on. So that's a way to cut it back. And now the way compression algorithms and things like that are advancing, like H.265 and other things out there, it's actually becoming a lot better. It's not as bad as it used to be, but video is still a large file. Any other questions?
How about the expectation of privacy if somebody's at a Walmart, not law enforcement, but somebody's at a Walmart or a Home Depot? Do they have to announce that they're being recorded, or?
It depends. It depends on the state or the local regulation. Typical, in theory, everyone's got a body-worn solution in their pocket. They have a cell phone, so I don't think you have to announce every time you record someone, or anytime someone gets arrested, or whatever it is. So typically, for the employer, say a Home Depot is going to have their employees do it, they'll have some type of signage. You're on camera, whatever it may be. But I don't know all the states' laws, but I know like around me, you don't have to. Audio, you do. Audio in some states you do have to, which is a little different. But recorded, like I said, everyone's got a body worn or wearable in their pocket. They're just not posted on their chest or whatever it may be. Any other questions? Great, thank you. I appreciate the time.
So, thank you, Joe. Yeah, does anyone have anything that they want to bring up at this point? We're at the end of the meeting. Unless someone has something they want to bring up or make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Where's that, second? Okay, all in favor say no? All in favor say yes? All right, if anything, I know there are some drinks being offered. I think it's 2 drink tickets per person, and then there's some food outside. If you guys want to stop, have some dinner before going home, feel free to stay, feel free to hang out for a while. Sorry? The tickets?
Oh, right over here.
Stephanie has the tickets if anyone wants drink tickets.
Yeah.